All right. Well, I mean, it's Jimmy D here, live from the broom closet, somewhere in a mystery location in southwestern Ontario. And I'm here with Evan from Boid, and we're here to kick off the season 4, the final season, the last season of the year, season of 2022, which was the first season ever of Boid. Sorry, of Pomelo Pitch Deck, and we're here with Evan from Boid to talk about what you guys are building. And you guys are building metaverse. I mean, you're kind of indirectly responsible for, you know, Boid kind of EOS power up, the metaverse which is coming out. This isn't your first Pomelo pitch deck. This isn't your first Pomelo grant. I mean, you guys have been building in the EOS ecosystem really since the beginning. So welcome, Evan, and yeah,
Welcome.
tell us
You forgot
what's going on.
PowerPool.io, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So right now, I think actually as of yesterday, the universe.boid.com, or if you go to boid.com, um, our universe, I guess, subdomain and all that went live on the website. We started putting out more of the imaging about Boid Universe. We started putting out more about the game Boid and the Boid Colony.
Now,
Uh,
Boyd Metaverse, or the Boydverse, is the
right,
metaverse that makes a difference, right? Like, I mean,
correct.
this is a really great website. I'm gonna share it.
All right. So I mean,
And here in the
the
comments
biggest
so
thing
everyone can look in.
with Boyd is that we believe in social good and we believe in um, betterment of basically everybody through um, making a difference in our community.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, actually, early in my crypto career, I was actually doing, how I got started podcasting actually was by doing audio only casts for the Boyd team, and they were called Boyd casts, and I did a few of a few influential people, and then I ended up here. But I second what you're saying, right? Like, Boyd is kind of like a leader if you know who's behind it and what they're doing in trying to make the world a better place, right? I mean, the actual idea of Boyd comes from a flock of birds, right? Like, they kind of work as a colony, they work together. The first application that was done was, complex mathematical computations, that was a network of computers that was decentralized and distributed across the world, that was searching for like algorithms to help in mathematics and science and things like that, right? And
Right.
so and now we're at the point where we're looking at the world, and we're looking at the capacities that sit inside of Boyd, and we're thinking, okay, well, what let's build a metaverse. Well, we really want to build a metaverse, but people are complaining a little bit because, like, they don't have enough CPU and GPU. So let's just build that first. We'll build EOS IO Power Up, which is basically, if you need a CPU hit for the day, you go over there, you punch in your EOS address, and it's paid for one thing, right? So you can make that one transaction. And now we're at the dawn of something that seems really quite special. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say, so I'm going to let you talk about it. But, like, I'm pretty excited about what the idea of the Boyd universe is there to represent, right?
I mean, there's a lot of extension, a lot of integration. Our first integration that we've got that kind of went public was the avatars. The avatars has been a very, very fun project. It actually was, I don't even know how to explain it. It's the first project I saw that took a combination of visual aspects of single NFTs and then blended them into a single cohesive NFT. And it lets you kind of freeform. I know Jimmy has his own that kind of represents him. I've made I don't know,
I love
four.
those things. Those things,
Yeah.
like, they were so well done, and I think there was like 8 or 9 different attributes that,
Yep.
like, and they were spit out in these packs, right? And
Yep.
this is like what I think a lot of other projects got wrong, right? Like don't get me wrong, I love Nifty blocks. I love the idea of combining NFTs to get something better, right? But Boyd just they just said screw that. We don't want to start with an NFT. We want to start with a bunch of parts, and then we want to throw them together and we want to see what we get. And once that part is used, right, and it becomes part of a bigger NFT, an NFT that represents a character, an avatar, or whatever you want to call it, right? Um, or whatever might be coming down the line, like once that part is used, then that one of one is gone forever. So all of the all the supply of the parts that haven't been used, that's reduced, and they're all one of ones. And so then all your actual avatars or creations that you make are one of ones. Like it was absolutely brilliant what you guys pulled off with that. I'm a really big fan. And you still have like some really big key players, like headliners in the space, that have that as their handles on social media, right? Like there's people paying
Yeah.
attention to this,
There
right?
there are people, and again, we've seen a lot of adoption. We got integrated pretty early into um, Wombat Dungeon Masters, and there's becoming a stakeable NFT in there that really got a fire lit under us in many ways, where we're getting a lot of exposure, getting a lot of people in. We're trying to continue on with them in their seasons to see if as they expand some of their features, if we can partner with them and get more exposure and be involved. Um, I forget the number. We did the math one time with, I think it's 8 different parts, and I think there's like 200 different parts total. I forget the exact number. It was some ridiculous number. It was like over 1 million different possible mintable avatars. And again, once it's created, it cannot be, that template cannot be recreated. There's different rarities. The rarest being the rarity 5s, where you only get 10. I think rarity 4 means it'll be 90 of that one ever minted. But there aren't, as long as we keep making packs and templates, there's an infinite number. But
I mean,
there's a
these are really
certain,
well done. I mean, the Finchies, the Edisons,
yeah,
the historical figures, and I mean, Boyd has a really strong, you know,
like science.
connectivity
I
with
think everybody that's
science,
in
right?
Boyd is, yeah. And again,
I love
where
that
we,
Antelope too, right? Like you said, new, right? Like when the Boyd avatars were created, Antelope.io wasn't a thing, right? Like we
yep,
hadn't made that merge, right? Like Archimedes is there. Not really sure why he's holding a gun, but hey, fair enough. You got the wombat, you got Elon, right? Like, it's
yep.
great. Yeah, I made a few that I was like a really big fan of.
And
This rare druid actually was great. I think I might have even bought one of these because I really liked it. But yeah, you can just mix and match really cool things. So definitely check it out.
and the parts are relatively cheap for what you're getting over on. Again, you don't even have to spend EOS if you are in the Boyd ecosystem. Well, right now we're mining Boyd on folding at home because the previous solution changed hands, and when it changed hands, there was there still are some hiccups with the university that received the old system that we're using, and that's fine. So we've migrated over. We're in the process of still trying to get all of the front end and back end development done to get a new mining client. But right now we're on folding at home. We actually just achieved today, probably I think 6 or 8 hours ago, whenever the tweet went out, 600th overall for all teams in the history of folding at home, which
Right.
is again, we're a small team. We're not.
Been a small team for a long time, but you guys are killing it, right? Like you were one of the first projects to actually move over to Telos, right? Like
Absolutely.
you were one of the first projects that like we talk about pre-bridging, like IBC pre-bridging. You were one of the first projects to actually make it out of the EOS ecosystem
Yep.
and tie in with Telos. And you were there kind of for the hardships of EOS. But you
We
were also there for
still
kind of
are.
the rising of Telos, which is really quite nice. So
And John wrote an amazing bridge that lets us move our coins back and forward between Telos and EOS. So if you are mining it, there you don't have to go through any exchange or any of that weird black magic that moves stuff around, which is great because it's built into the contract. Again, John has been a forward thinker in many ways for for a long time, which is great working with this team because um, kind of getting to pick his brain and see what he thinks about things or where he thinks the metaverse is going or Web3 in general is going
Right.
has been great. And I think that's one of the reasons that the people that invest in Pomelo and Pomelo has been so welcoming of John's projects.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about Pomelo. We're gonna do that. That's actually my job. I'm not doing a very good job of it right now. But I just had to throw this up on the screen, right? Like these are my two, like, the Jimmy D. I've decided that I'm gonna create these weird, like little NFT things. The first one was the Rainbow Knight. It's EOS, right? And love it or hate it, I kind of love it now. The fact that I actually have to like really trigger my brain to be able to think in 12 letter placements of names that I want to have something, right? But yeah, I don't know. I just opened a few packs and I got that and I played around with it. But then like, my reason to etra really in the Boid metaverse. Yeah, and there actually is a Jimmy D.
There is
There's a
limited
Jimmy D
edition.
one, but like my favorite one that I created was this geisha-fied, and I just like all the right parts, and it was really cool what you guys did. So, yeah, we're here to talk about Pomelo. Pomelo is the first quadratic funding kind of machine that has been plugged into the EOS ecosystem, right? Like it was taken from the Ethereum network. There were some very successful, grants and proposals that were run through, Ethereum, and some good things happened. But the interesting thing with Pomelo, I think, is Pomelo really took the EOS community by storm, because it
Oh, it
was
did.
around the same time as like the ENF came out, and when the ENF came out, right, like funding started to change through that, but then Pomelo was right there, at the beginning of last year, kind of at the beginning of this year, to kind of pick up with season one of the Pomelo grants, and so we're granting projects the ability to be able to fundraise on EOS. And I mean, after the Block One days, when the ICO was done and there was no money trickling down, I mean, yeah, it was really bad. So this is kind of an interesting thing for me to see, because this is the only blockchain that I personally know where a quadratic funding mechanism has kind of swept across and enabled a multitude of projects to be able to actually fund themselves and build things, right? And so you guys have got a couple of proposals up. One of the most exciting ones is the Boid metaverse. I think when the Boid metaverse maybe started, the idea was like to kind of like look at it more like as a game. But it just kind of expanded to this like really unique original idea that had the quirky backdrop of the scientific arm of what we were talking about a little bit previous. So explain to us, what is the Boid metaverse? What was the previous funding used for? Because this isn't your first grant, and what are you planning on using the next funding for the Boid metaverse for?
So our last round of funding went directly towards open sourcing our Unity game. As anybody who's ever been in either the crypto space or the programming space knows, getting reliable developers is difficult, and we lost our, I guess, our reliable developer that we were working on getting that out. So kind of we're stuck in a quasi beta on the Unity game that was out. But in the meantime, we ended up releasing the Boid avatars part of our Boid universe. Released that as an open source on GitHub. We put that out there. The Unity game, which is the Boid Void, is we're working towards getting to a more complete state. We're still committed to open sourcing that code and getting it out there. But I guess anybody who's worked in game development knows it games are easy to make, but getting the networking and all the communication parts to work correctly is difficult.
Yeah, it's not the
So
easy thing. It's not like making a Big Mac. It's a little bit more complicated.
yeah, so we're working on getting reliable developer or some reliable developers behind it to keep that going. Meanwhile, other things move on with Boid itself. John's been doing amazing, I mean, absolutely magical work on the contracts and the stuff that allow us to deploy future mechanics and other things. We've been ironing out mechanics within the Boyd's verse for NFTs for building, the mechanics for the upgradability and the rarity of buildings, our internal market and exchange, um, mining and contract of kind of Boyd, crystallized Boyd or Boyd crystals, which may or may not be something that is either a mineable currency or a staked currency. We haven't quite figured out all the mechanics about the crystallized Boyd and how they relate to tokens and all that stuff. From what I understand, um, there may be jurisdictional or regional legalities and how those are represented because of how the SEC views certain
It's really
things.
it's super fun, like, building a company
It
globalized.
is, and
I mean,
we've
like,
got
hats
really
off
smart
to people like
people.
Elon Musk, right? Because every jurisdiction has their own regulations, and then you got to cater to that. And all you're really trying to do is build a game that makes the world a better place, right? Like, and
Absolutely.
logistically, like what the universe does, it kind of does actually make the world a better place, right? Like the whole idea of Boyd, of Boyd, and the network, and trying to do this algorithm research. Like, a lot of that kind of funnels back to this original idea, right? So when you have this idea of a universe, you have this idea of a game, you have this idea of an avatar to make the world a fun place, and then you got to plug legality of 10 different regions in 10 different
Oh
countries
God,
and
yes.
10 continents into that.
It,
It just
it,
not
it's
work
like
out so
walking around with a blindfold in a minefield. You just gotta hope that you're going slow enough and cautious enough that you don't lose a leg.
well.
And if you do, you're hoping you got a lifeline out or something. So it's definitely something that we're cognizant of and trying to navigate. Makes it really hard for us to
So this
make
isn't the first.
statements.
This isn't the first Boyd Universe proposal. What were you able to use the funding on from the last proposal
So
to work
the
towards spending?
previous one went basically to getting the avatars out. We were using it again towards getting the Boyd Void, the Unity game going,
Mm.
but because basically developers are flaky, and we stalled out. We stalled out, and I think we were in
It's funny because
beta.
you work for a company that was built by a developer who's probably listening to you right now. I
Yeah.
mean, just saying.
Well, it's not John that's flaky. It's the
I
Unity
know.
developers
We all
that
know
were
John's
flaky.
not flaky. John's fake.
But we stalled out on that, so we shifted focus towards using the funds to open sourcing the avatars, basically the avatar source code. So that is available. If anyone wants to take the Boyd avatars code and make their own NFTs using that technology and that contract, it's out there. It's on GitHub. We can post a link in
But
the
you know
show
what's
notes.
way easier is if you just head on over to that site. Because I'm telling you, if, if
It's all
you have
there.
if you have EOS or if you
Yep.
have Boyd, and you head on over to that Boyd avatar site, um, I mean, again, just head on over to the previous post I put up there, the universeboyd.com. I mean, it's a brilliant little website. I just love the picture, the futuristic bubble city that looks like in a place of the land before time. It's brilliant. But yeah, like if you head on over to Boyd avatars and you have some EOS, connect your account and go and play around with it because it's super fun. And like, you can spit out random images, but you can also like grab parts off the market from directly within the app, right? And
Yep.
so what I love about what you guys are building a lot of times is that it takes the middleman out of crypto, and there's too many freaking middlemen in crypto, like especially in EOS. Like, the middlemen in EOS are horrible because like we've got an extra hurdle where we actually have to get people who whoa, that got really dark really fast. Sorry, EOS, I still love you. Please let the lights come back on. No, but like we've got the added hurdle over here where most of the people who are paying attention to us are paying attention to us because it's the wrong reason. They're paying attention to us because we used to be an EOS that didn't produce anything, and we had the biggest ICO of all time, and then and then there was a situation that happened where we just kind of died. But like they don't realize the amount of community and the amount of power and the tenacity of a lot of the early developers that were working back in the early days of the space, right? There are a ton of projects that have failed. They're not coming back, right? There was a ton of great things, but you got things like Eden on EOS, which is potentially Dan's kind of pinnacle of what he was trying to achieve, even though he's gone on and created other governance systems, but that's not the time for the show. We've got Boid, right? Like you've got like the crypto writer people, like you've got a lot of different people who are here like way back in the day, and they've been building things and they're just sitting here waiting kind of for the world to notice, right? And I think once the game and the universe comes out, it's going to be super sweet. But one of the biggest problems I think with EOS was always the ability to put that money in and out, right? And so that kind of lays on the back of your guys' next proposal, the one that you're kind of working on, which is the EOS IBC. So for people who don't know, what is IBC and why is it a problem in crypto?
So it's based on Cosmos IBC, and it's a way to, I don't even know how to explain it to you. It's such a big concept.
Right. But I think the easiest way to explain it might actually be that little thing on the back of your bank card, that little plus mark, right? Because the way that crypto is oriented right now is if you want to get money out of the bank on one cryptocurrency, you kind of got to go to one bank machine, right? And if you want to swap it, like it's okay, but it's only okay to swap it within that network. And then if you want to, let's say you don't have,
and the network might let you swap it, but there might be fees
somewhere else, and you got to go somewhere else, and you got to get it out of there, right? Like IBC essentially is that little plus mark that is feeless, which is interesting because the only thing in the mainstream financial world that is feeless is that little plus mark. Everything else is charging a fee, but just that, right? Like, so IBC is essentially the crypto, the blockchain version of that, right? And so I think that's really exciting, and I think it's also really exciting that you guys are looking at it from a Cosmos perspective, per se, because you started out in EOS, and I know a lot of the people who've worked at who've worked on this team in a variety of the projects that have been.
Gosh, I wouldn't want to drop names, but there have been a lot of heavy hitters that have been in and around.
And they've developed some pretty substantial things on the EOS network. But like, I love how you guys are looking beyond the fray, right? Like we're at that point now in EOS where any project that can be able to offer a gateway or a highway or even an in and out for a simple crypto transfer when it comes to DeFi, when it comes to gaming, like this is really necessary, and it's not really possible on a lot of other blockchains, right? Like it's not possible on Bitcoin, it's not possible on Ethereum. It might be in the future when they flip to a full like kind of staking model system, but it's not right now. And so I think like it's really interesting. So tell us a little bit about how this IBC is important and why it's different from anything that's built on any other blockchain.
I mean, it's important because if and when it's implemented and is working, the first of all, we're going to open source it, so anybody's going to be able to take this knowledge that John has created, and it'll be open source. There'll be APIs, services, user interfaces for all of that stuff. We can we'll be able to host them and maintain them as a free service, as long as we get the proposal backed properly, which is a big thing. Now you may say, well, why should someone back it? What do we care about this? The thing is, or the biggest problem in crypto, at least that I see for onboarding new people, is, I got some coin here, I got some coin here, I've got some coin there. Getting them all into a single place or migrating them all onto a single chain or a single place can be very difficult. It's almost a Herculean task. I actually just found I had a wallet from an exchange that I hadn't used for years, and I found I had a ton of SHIB, not SHIB, Doge on it that I forgot about. I'm like, okay, well, let's transfer this. And then I'm looking like, oh no, because this exchange doesn't recognize this exchange. And I had to do some magic to get everything to where I needed to be. That's the best part of EOS IO IBC is it eliminates that middleman baloney where you got to have exchanges that do this and all that. The smart contracts handle all of that themselves internally and move everything transparently and honestly on the blockchain. So you don't have to worry about it. It happens. I hate to say it, it's magic, but if you can sit and read the contract and understand all the moving parts, I understand. I'm not the best programmer. I've got 2 or 3 years in college of Python. I couldn't write this myself. I can read it and I understand all the parts that are going on. And to me, it's indistinguishable from magic. The way that it works. It's intuitive. It's ingenuity or ingenious, and I just you know being with John for as long as we've both been with John for a while. I didn't expect anything less from him because everything that he's done has either been just absolute madness or absolute genius, and I think this is both of them because it it's something that's so simple. It should have existed from the beginning of EOS. I really think it should have. I don't know how the ecosystem has existed for as long as it has without a simple tool like this to make a lot of the complexities go away.
Yeah, I mean, he does do a really good job of being like a madman of a genius. I mean, in
I wonder why he likes all these mad scientists to make NFTs of, and it
right.
all makes
I
sense.
mean, it totally all makes sense, right? Yeah, so you guys have got at least two. There might be one or two others, but like those are the two main ones that you guys are looking for funding for. I think it's really important that like people support these projects. Head on over to those grants. I put them up in the comments. We'll put them up here on the screen. But all you have to do really to get involved is to head on over to the Pomelo grants page and seek out these two grants, and then donate an EOS or two. And the nice thing about the way that Pomelo grants is set up as a quadratic funding mechanism is that like the EOS is matched at a higher exponential value to what you're actually putting in. So there's a really detailed kind of algorithmic calculation that goes into it, but you might put in 1 EOS and the return that project actually gets might be like 20 EOS or 30 EOS, right? Like could be up to 100 EOS potentially, depending upon how big the pools are and how it's working, right? So definitely worth paying attention to. You can give it's actually better to give 1 EOS to a multitude of projects rather than
Is
just
Yep.
fund 100 EOS to your favorite project,
I
right?
mean, we saw this in, I think it was Fellow Season 1 when we got EOS or PowerPool. Was it PowerPool? No. EOS PowerUp.io
Hmm.
was John's project where he got that going. And I
That's like
actually,
that's an iconic project, which is
I was going
hilarious,
to say,
right? Like that
everybody
kind of
uses it.
came
No
out
one
of
remembers
like
it's
the whole
John.
reason of EOS, right? Like
I cannot tell you how many times I've been like, shit, I need like 10 milliseconds. Where can I go to get 10 milliseconds? I go right there. You put your EOS address in. John doesn't. We don't ask anything. For people of it. It's a free power up. It's. I mean, I'm in the NFT space. I talk to people all the time, and when someone says, "Wait, John did that project," I'm like, "Yeah, that was one of John's projects," and it just blows people's minds. John is a genius, and Pomelo has helped us get his
right.
genius out there to help the greater community.
I used Power Up yesterday. I wanted to I wanted to stake some VIG on the UX network for you can stake VIG and
Yep.
proportions to USDT or in proportion to EOS, and then they'll drop you some VIG2, which is on the UX network. But like for some reason my CPU was down, so I'm like, use powerup.io, right? Like it's the family brand of EOS, really. If you're on EOS and you don't know about powerup.io, I mean, go and figure it out, because it's the thing that's going to save your ass, really.
I gotta say, I'm hoping that IBC Solutions becomes as ubiquitous as that has, because you know, again, we're all about community good here.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so yeah, head on over. Read about the Boid universe and the link that we dropped above. Check it out, because it's definitely cool. This is one of the coolest. Like when you open the site, you'll be like, wow, like it's a really well built site. It's not just like a bunch of ones and zeros that make like a black and white screen. It's really well done. Definitely check it out. And if you're down, head on over to the Pomelo grants and donate, some EOS to the Boid universe and help them grow. And definitely go and check out a Boid avatar and make your own. I mean, because it's super fun. You can re-geisha-ize the world, and it's going to be amazingly, wonderfully great.
It is.